Tony Kurre Radio. It's one of my favorite songs, not only for Bad Company from Paul Rodgers. I was on Austin Hanks' Instagram account last night. He's got like 100,000 followers. The guy gets after the pictures. Go to Austin Hanks Official if you're into classic rock, man. He's got pictures of him with Paul Rodgers, Burt Bacharach for Billy Gibbons, Matt. So I mean, it's a crazy. The pictures he has on his account. And I did that because we were doing the Blues Almighty thing here exclusively, heard exclusively on Tony Kurre Radio at noon and 8 on Thursdays. And it's just amazing to me how many rock and rollers, because when you talk about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Paul Rodgers is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, solo or Bad Company. He's got to be in one way or another. The dude did Free, did The Firm, he did Bad, and for some reason, I don't know why they're shying away from even looking at him, but and over and over and over again, John Mellencamp said it best. He's the greatest rock and roll voice ever. There are more people that would say that Paul Rodgers is the greatest rock and roll singer ever. That goes with Freddie Mercury, too. I mean, he is so distinct. He's so good. He could hit everything. He was just a hell of a singer in his own time. And the guy could churn out a 3-minute hit anytime he wanted to. Just amazing stuff. Paul Rodgers and Good Love and Gone Bad here on Tony Kurre Radio. Make sure you download the Tony Kurre Radio app. If you're listening on your PC, I'm looking where we're all over the place. We're in about 16 different countries right now. Big listenership in Charlotte, North Carolina this morning. We thank you. And, of course, we're based right here in Hoover, Alabama. And we love it here. And the majority of our listeners within about 100 miles of the Birmingham area. And we greatly appreciate the tens of thousands of folks who would download the Tony Kurre Radio app. We continue to give you fresh new programming. We got some new shows we're kicking off next week, which will air starting here in a couple weeks, including a show called When in Rome, which is going to be another rock and roll show. I cannot wait to do this show. I'm going to co-host this with Stuart Rome from the Woodhouse Day Spas. He wanted to do a show. I'm like, I'm in. And it's going to be a show that's going to make you feel good, look good, and best of all, sound good. We'll have that show coming up. And also a show called Mission Minded with my good friend Michael Coleman, who's the executive director from the Jimmy Hale Mission Show. It's not a Jimmy Hale Mission show, but he works there, and he wants to do a show as well. So if you got any show ideas, go to TonyKurreRadio.net. Let me know what your show ideas are, and we'll look into it. And if it's something I think that would fit our radio station and you've got some backing with you, as far as in followers, we'll certainly take a little handle it. The Kurre and Claypo show, several people chiming this morning going, where's Dr. Josh Claypo? He's been out. He went to the UK for about 2 or 3 weeks to go see his kid over there in Oxford, along with his daughter Adair. They came back. They're doing the self-quarantine thing, so he's all good and clean before he comes back into these crystal clear, wonderfully, hygienically, whatever, studios of Tony Kurre Radio. So we'll be back next Thursday right here, and I cannot wait to get him back in the studio. I'm just going to regurgitate everything we talked about over the last month with him. It's going to be great. So check out the Kurre and Claypo show again Thursday morning, 7:30 to 9:30. Tony Kurre Live now every morning here on Tony Kurre Radio. Been playing that song about 40 years, and he'll always hang up. Young Lust here on Tony Kurre Radio. It's Tony Kurre Radio Live every Monday through Friday morning, 7:30 to 9:30, again from 6 until 8, Monday through Friday. And, of course, our special shows, Adapt or Perish, is back. Super excited about that with Dr. Alex Subline on Tuesday with Dr. Josh Claypo co-hosting. Monday, Dark Side of the Pooch. We already get a brand new show in the can for next Monday. Livewire Wednesday brought to you by Southern Precision Staffing for all your staffing needs, construction, or anything else. 205-682-2828. Kai Gregory and his staff are bang up. They get after it. 2022 is going to be another weird year. We don't know where a new normal is yet. The Omicron thing's peeking out. We'll see what happens, but they're ready to go and staff it up whenever you're ready. 205-682-2828, where your word and your handshake still means something. They're right here in Hoover, but they serve the United States of America. Then Thursday, Blues Almighty. Fantastic shows. I just mentioned his show he did last night, and yesterday at noon was great. And then, of course, Damon Johnson shows. It's Damon Johnson Friday here on Tony Kurre Radio. Was brought to my attention that 40 years ago today, perhaps one of my favorite albums of all time, you know, the old, if you were on a deserted island, you could only have one album, what would it be? Mine would probably be an AC/DC album or Standing Hampton from Sammy Hagar. I love me some Sammy Hagar. And the front side of that album, there's not too many albums where you can like every song is killer. There's some albums where you may like every song on an album. And there may be 3 or 4 songs that you fell in love with, but you don't hear them. This album, man, I'll Fall in Love Again, Baby's on Fire, Heavy Metal, There's Only One Way to Rock, and Can't Get Loose. I mean, every stinking song is absolutely killer. 40 years ago. 40 years ago today it was released. It's what put Sammy on the map, Standing Hampton, and the album art was pretty good too, if you know what I mean. Tony Curry Radio, Sing Me Away from Dawn Patrol. I love that song. You never hear it on the radio. We're happy to play it for you here on Tony Curry Radio. Thanks again to the tens of thousands of folks who have downloaded the Tony Curry Radio app. We give you a classic rock to the bone, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we don't play anything slow. When I picked out every tune we play like over 800 songs now. I want to make sure every song rocks. Because even if you have a song on that you don't particularly like, and there's not many of those here, you could tap your foot to it. We got some Stone Temple Pilots coming up in just a few minutes. We'll do some Led Zeppelin by request, some 5150 from Van Halen as well. Happy birthday to David Bowie. Would have been 75 tomorrow. He's got this album that is being officially released today called Toy. What a weird, wonderful dude. Have you seen the cover art to this? I'm going to tweet out the cover art to this new album. What a strange-looking dude. But I love him, man. I love everything he did, and I think he was so instrumental in really setting the table for so many great artists after the 70s and how they portray themselves not only musically but also on the stage. What an influencer, man. He was an influencer before social media for sure. So happy birthday to David Bowie tomorrow. And also Elvis Presley has a birthday tomorrow. He would have been 87 tomorrow, so we'll celebrate Elvis. We'll play some Elvis Presley this morning. How about that? You want to get onto it? Night Ranger, Sing Me Away. Billy Bob's in Texas, Fort Worth, Texas. You can buy some tickets for their show later on tonight. Damn, if I could get off a little early, I'd fly to Texas tonight. Take my vaccine card, and I'd be rocking and rolling with a little, you still rocking America, man. They'll be at Lamar Dixon Expo Center coming up on the 8th. Rock Island Fest in Key West, Florida coming up on the 14th. And Lima Civic Center in Lima. Actually, it's Lima. Sorry. I used to play the old marching band there in Lima, Ohio. It's Lima, Ohio. Wow, that's a small venue. Coming up on the 29th. Go to nightranger.com for all those details. Tony Curry Radio, your home for the Curry and Claypo Show. Adapt your parish, Dark Side of the Pooch, Blues Almighty, the Damon Johnson Show, the Hip Hop Show on Saturday nights, and more. And we've got 2 new shows we're going to start working on next week. They'll be unveiled in the middle of January. Every time you tune us in, you'll be hearing some very unique radio programming, and, of course, classic rock to the bone, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I hope you got big plans for the week. Actually, I hope you got no plans for the weekend. And when people say, I got no plans, that's usually the best weekends they have. It's colder than a brass bra out there right now, though. My nipples are so hard I can cut glass. The Betty White Challenge is sweeping the internet. And as soon as I see the word challenge, I'm like, oh, God, here we go. Another TikTok thing with a 99-year-old woman who would have turned 100 on January 17th. But this is a good thing. The new challenge, inspired by the late comedic icon, is currently sweeping through social media. It's called the Betty White Challenge. It's a virtual challenge. They're asking people to donate $5 to animal rescues or shelters in her name on January 17th. It's pretty cool. She was recently, that was actually a recent clip with her and Joan Rivers that came out. I can put it on our social media. It's hilarious. The two ladies just go after each other. She was a devoted animal lover, and Joan asked her the question, when did you start loving animals? She goes, when I was still in the womb. I just was born to take care of animals. And, of course, a lot of people asked her questions, well, if you're such an animal activist, why can't you be a human activist? Just back off. She said that's the deal. As humans and animals, we coincide with each other. We need each other. And so really when I'm helping animals, I'm helping people, which I love. So coming up here on January 17th, which would have been her 100th birthday, feel free to donate $5 to animal rescues or shelters in her name, and we'll see what kind of $5 a person is nothing. And just think about the impact we can make. We had Dark Side of the Pooch on Monday at noon and 8 with Dr. Rab Stewart from the Rossbridge Animal Hospital. We were talking to him about that, and he's like, no, we need more people like that. I think when you hear the word activist, you think PETA, you think of maybe, no, it's not like she just stayed very active in her belief that animals should be treated the way they should be treated, and she certainly did a wonderful job at that, so we love that. Tony Curry Radio, feeling that way anytime to only hear some songs back to back as they should be heard. We got Steely Dan coming up. It's one of my favorite Steely Dan songs of all time. It's a song you will not hear on regular radio, but you should, and every time we play, people are like, dude, I love that tune. I'm like, I know. We'll be playing for you next. The Curry and Claypo Show, which we've been doing for like 5 or 6 years, has been moved to Thursday, so we'll do that again next Thursday with Dr. Josh Claypo. I had a wonderful conversation with my best friend yesterday. Miss having him in here, but he's got a lot of things going on. He just got back from the UK, and so he's quarantined right now. He's a good boy, and so we'll look forward to having him back on Thursday right here. Also, we're going to have Austin Hanks of Slick Lily fame and really fame of ZZ Top. He's written songs for ZZ Top. He's working with Billy Gibbons every day. The guy is a superstar, and he has a show. I'm so happy and fortunate and blessed to have him doing Blues Almighty here every Thursday at noon and 8. He'll join us again next week. And then, of course, Mark Ingram, the athletic director for the UAB Blazers, will be talking about the national championship game and more next Wednesday here on the Tony Kurre Radio. This Tristan Thompson story, I think a lot of people, whenever they think they follow celebrities, and of course it has a huge shadowing, a bearing on the Kardashian situation since he's got a child with Khloe. Her name is True. He publicly apologized. I'm always like, listen, man, if I screw up, using social media to apologize is a joke to me. It's just, if you need to let the world know how you feel about it, it's like the dude that's got to propose to the woman at the stadium. It's like, I'm a private kind of guy, believe it or not. And I'm sure that he apologized to her first, and he feels like it's going to put some more eggs in his basket by apologizing to the world that he's screwed up. Okay, maybe she made him do it. I don't know. They're not getting back together again. But it just reeks of entitlement, and if I put this out, she'll get over it, and just be careful what you air when it comes to your dirty laundry. Pepper Schwartz, who's a professor of sociology at the University of Washington, a featured relationship expert on Married at First Sight, says the Thompson and Kardashian situation we love because it digs up feelings of betrayal people have experienced. So I think the strength of the reaction comes from what we've been there, and he was talking about the actual apology. We've done that, or we've been subject to do it, so we forgave them for what shouldn't have happened. I don't know about that. It's one thing about cheating on somebody when you bring another body into the world. And thank goodness I believe he's got the financial fortitude to obviously provide for this child. But you're bringing a love baby in, and I'm not saying this child's not going to be loved, but it's going to be split up, right? So now he's got two children, or at least two children with two different women. Plus, the culture, we're intrigued by the subject of cheating as long as we're not the ones involved. Amen with that. Says Alicia Walker, assistant professor of sociology at Missouri State University, author of Chasing Masculinity, Men, Validation, and Infidelity. The social narrative around cheating is that if you discover you're being cheated on, the correct response is to leave that person. Noting it's not always easy to do that. As a society, we eat up tales of infidelity, but we want the players involved to follow their script. That means Khloe is to leave Tristan for good. She can burn all of his clothes, kick him out, trash him on the internet, refuse to ever speak to him again, but she's not to vilify the women with whom he cheats. People get riled up about cheating because it plays on their own fears of being in that situation. They see themselves and people in their own lives reflected in these stories, and their deep fears turn into misdirected anger towards Khloe for not reacting as they believe they would react in that scenario. True? I don't know. If you'll remember, though, I believe Tristan was actually with another woman when Khloe, because it takes two. We like to expect a married man to tell a woman, hey, listen, I'm married, I can't do it. But she also knows he's married. So it takes two. I'm not putting all the blame on one individual here, but I'm saying it takes two people to create infidelity in any type of situation. It's sad, though. I hate it for the kids. As a parent, I hate to see any kids come from a broken home, and I think that's the difficult part that I'm having an issue with. And the fact that he thinks he can just go, listen, he's going to be fine. And there's the other thing is when you have power and money, it seems like you can make these things go away a lot quicker than they do, but he's still dealing with it. And I would not want to deal with a Kardashian. The Kardashians are weird, though, because they got their shit together, man. They're super successful. Their business is unbelievable. They got all the money and the power in the world, yet they just continue to be drawn to these losers. He should get like a $5 million endorsement for a Trojan is what he is. Put a condom on, dude. A full body one. Tony Kurre Live. Happy Friday morning to you. It's January 7th, first Friday of the new year. I hope you're having a wonderful Friday. I hope you got absolutely no plans on weekends, because when you ask somebody what you got planned for the weekend, they say nothing. It usually turns out to be the best weekend of your life. I am Tony Kurre. The Kurre and Claypo show, which we've been doing for like the last 4 or 5 years, maybe even 6 years, has been moved to Thursday. So next Thursday morning, you'll see the lovely mug of Dr. Josh Claypo. He recently got back from the UK, was over there at the University of Oxford. His kid goes to Oxford. So while they're eating their crumpets and drinking their tea and looking at Big Ben's, they're in quarantine right now. So that's totally cool. So we'll be back next Thursday. Don't forget, it is a Damon Johnson Friday. I love this show. I co-host this show. That's not only the reason I love it. We take a theme. It could be his top 6 guitar solos, his top 6 female rockers. And this past week, he said he wanted to do like his top 6 butt rock songs. I had never heard of the phrase butt rock. Do you know what butt rock is? Good morning, Teresa Ponder, by the way. And I was like, butt rock song. So evidently there was a radio station up in Philadelphia that their moniker was nothing but rock. And they were playing like hair band bands and people didn't like it. And so they took the rock part off and they just said nothing but rock. And then they added a T and called butt rock. Well, talking to Damon on the show today, on the Damon Johnson show at noon and 8, fresh new show, he said that Brother Kane actually coined the phrase butt rock. And I was like, dude, that's a pretty big honor. I mean, it's something. So a butt rock band is a band like an LA Guns, a Faster Pussycat, maybe a Quiet Riot, to a lesser degree Motley Crue, Poison, Def Leppard, because their longevity has certainly been proven. But a lot of those bands came out in the early 80s, and it was like a mid to late 80s type of thing where a band was just filthy, nasty, stunk, wore really cheap leather jackets, had the makeup on, the long hair, and just chased tail, had a couple of big hits. Warrant, yeah, so like that. Winger, bands like that. So we turned this into Damon's top 6 hair metal band songs. And the reason we changed that from butt rock to that was because his lovely bride, Linda, is going to be on the show today. And I'm like, dude, anytime you want to invite anybody to be on it's your show, the Damon Johnson show, feel free. And she came on and she killed it. She absolutely killed it. So you're going to hear some Faster Pussycat, some LA Guns, Skid Row, Nickelback. You're going to hear some great heavy metal hair bands at noon and 8 right here exclusively on Tony Kurre Radio. We've also tapped into the Spotify world. They actually called us up. They want to go in partnership with us. In every episode we've done of the Damon Johnson Show, the Blues Almighty Show with Austin Hanks, which is fantastic. It's a full hour blues at noon and 8 on Thursday. Livewire Wednesday on Wednesday. Adapter Parish with Dr. Alex Hubline and Dr. Josh Claypo. And then, of course, also Dark Side of the Pooch with Dr. Rabster. We got a lot of doctors on this radio station, don't we? All those shows are archived, and you'll be able to go back and listen to all those podcasts coming up in the next couple of weeks. Couple of points of interest here as far as in the date goes. On this date in 1982, for my money, the greatest rock album, top 5 anyway, while I was on a deserted island, Standing Hampton from Sammy Hagar was released on this date 40 years ago. Had Babies on Fire, There's Only One Way to Rock, Can't Get Loose, I'll Fall in Love Again. Great album. The first side of that album was unbelievable. Love that. Also, Elvis Presley would turn 87 tomorrow. We'll celebrate that. I'll play some Jailhouse Rock a little bit later on this morning here on the Tony Kurre Radio app. By the way, if you're watching us on Facebook or you're listening to us and you want to get great classic rock and roll 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and are tired of hearing open arms and once bitten, twice shy, you tune us in and we play classic rock that you love, that you haven't heard in a long time. I'll get after it, man. And it's all up-tempo. It's great. Download the Tony Kurre Radio app. It's Tony Kurre, Kurre with a K. And also, tomorrow, David Bowie would have turned 75. It's amazing. He made an album back in 2000, and it was going to be released, and Virgin Records, for whatever reason, decided to hold on to it, and it never got released. So he went with a different label, released a different album, and now the album called Toy, and I put it out on social media this morning on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. What a weird up guy, man. I mean, but I say weird, but I say what a weird, wonderful guy. He was an influencer before we even knew what the phrase meant. As much as he influenced rock and roll in what he did in his life was just absolutely amazing. He really is one of the greatest rock artists of our time for all, not just the music quality and what he did musically, but everything he did just for genres and period. of rock and roll music. I mean, the dude had the Diamond Dogs. I still have one of the original albums. He's sitting there with his face on a dog and the wieners hanging out. I mean, I'm like, dude, what a weird, wonderful guy. And it makes me realize, because I've got weird, wonderful people in my life. For some reason, I am drawn towards the weirdness of people, people that are a little off. I really believe if you're one of these people that thinks there's actually aliens on Earth, I think I know about 3 or 4 of them. There's something that's not right, and it's not that they're not welcome here. They're just, something's just not right. I don't think it's like Asperger's or anything like that. I just think that there's something in their brain works differently than the rest of us. But I think that's great. I think it adds a lot of fun and creativity into what we have here on this Earth. But I do believe they're from a different planet. And I think David Bowie may have been one of those. The thing about David Bowie, though, is he owned it. I mean, he was who he was. Him on his wife, they had this wonderful relationship. He just was a super cool dude. If you ever get a chance, and I'll put the video up, if you ever get a chance to go pull up Fashion, and it goes into Let's Dance, the dude's up there doing these dance. I mean, it was just cool. To look like him and to wear makeup and his clothes, you can't pull that shit off, man. But he could pull it off. David Bowie owned it. It was fantastic. So happy birthday to David Bowie and his toy. It's called Toy. It's a creepy picture. When you see, if you go to my social media, go to Facebook, Instagram, whatever you go on, and pull up the cover of the album, it'll stick in your head for like 2 or 3 weeks. I saw it a couple weeks ago, and I still can't get it out of my brain, man. It's weird looking. So happy birthday to David Bowie and happy birthday to Elvis Presley. All right, speaking of birthdays, she would have had one coming up on the 17th. She's Betty White. As soon as I get on one of my pages, I get about 4 o'clock every morning, and I peruse all kinds of different publications. I saw the Betty White Challenge on TikTok, and I'm like, oh, no. Challenges are not good. Not good. In this particular case, it actually is a pretty cool thing. Her birthday, her 100th birthday, would be coming up on January 17th. The Golden Girl Star was a pioneering animal rights activist. I watched a Joan Rivers clip with her from about 30 years ago this morning. It was hilarious. The 2 old ladies just start bickering back and forth. It was hilarious. And she was asked the question, when did you start taking on animal rights? Or when did you start believing in animals, period? She said, when I was in the womb, before I was actually born, I knew I was put on this earth to help our little furry pets. And I think sometimes when you put the word activist in it, you start thinking about PETA and you think about trying to save squirrels and all this stuff. She wasn't that way. She just was an animal lover, and she stood behind her beliefs. The other question she was asked was, if you're such an activist for animals, why can't you be more of an activist for humanity? Well, first of all, there's a big difference between humans and animals. We have free will and we can think. We can make moves. We can do things. We can make decisions. Most animals can't. But she said, well, therein lies the whole issue. She said, I kind of look at us as all the same. She said, animals and people we have cohabitated since we've domesticated dogs and cats and everything thousands of years ago. We've lived together we need each other. I mean, we have therapy pets. We have people that don't go to a therapist, but they have a therapy dog or a therapy potbelly pig. We got people that won't go to another human being to get better, but they'll certainly pet their dog's belly and makes them feel better. PTSD, depression, animals are so engaging. Horses, we have Special Equestrians, which is one of the greatest organizations I have ever been part of. My special needs son rode horses out of Special Equestrians out at Indian Springs for several years. So yeah, she's like, that's why I'm an animal activist. I realize just how important animals are to our life. So coming up on the 17th, the event asked fans to donate $5 to any animal rescue or shelter in her name. So I'm imploring you on the 17th. She was a devoted animal lover who worked on saving endangered species, fixing conditions at the Los Angeles Zoo. And the ASPCA expressed, of course, their sadness over her death. It's a non-for-profit. Betty White demonstrated a lifelong commitment to helping animals in need, including dedicated support for local shelters and animal welfare endeavors, fiercely promoting and protecting animal interest in her entertainment projects, and personally adopting many rescued animals. And in many cases, she would show up on a lot of her interviews with a dog in her lap. She would have been 100 years old on January 17th. It's hashtag Betty White Challenge. Please pass it on. $5. We'll get it done. Speaking of humanity, I thought this is interesting. I talked a little bit about this yesterday, and I really want to get into it, but whenever we talk about relationships, people chime in, and you certainly can do that this morning here on Tony Kurre Radio and the Tony Kurre Radio app or on Facebook Live. The internet's still cringing over Tristan Thompson's apology to Khloe Kardashian. Normally, I'm not into these kind of things. I think a lot of people that aren't into celebrity news or reality TV, that they like to see chaos in people's lives. They're like, oh, well, it's not so great to be powerful and rich, is it? All of a sudden, you have another child you need to deal with. So in case you missed it, Tristan and Khloe teamed up, had a baby. He has been a cheater for quite some time. They broke up. Then another woman comes out and says that she had sex with him and that he fathered her child. He said it didn't happen. Show me a DNA. She did. And lo and behold, he is the father of this child. So he sends out this long Instagram message about how sorry he was and that Khloe didn't deserve this and that he should, I don't know why I treat you this way and blah, 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 blah. We talked about this yesterday, man. You got to be really careful about posting stuff on social media when you're apologizing to somebody, because it looks like the cheap-ass way to get out of sitting down with her. And he may have sat down with her, had a phone call with her and said, listen, I'm going to post this, or maybe she even made him post it. But whenever I see someone apologizing to his wife or his girlfriend or boyfriend or husband or whatever profusely on social media, I'm like, why? Just do it to their face, keep it in house, and let it be done. It's not going to make the relationship any stronger by letting all of your followers know how sorry you are. She's the one that needs to feel the redemption. She's the one that needs to hear the apology and feel the passion of, if in fact it's true. She's the one, or he's the one that needs to feel this. And then you see it on social media. I'm like, dude, you're a dope. It's like the same dude that likes to propose to his girlfriend at stadiums. Why do you need to have the whole world know about it? Doesn't matter. She's the one that needs to know about it. She needs to know it's coming from your heart. So from Tristan Thompson, I'm like, whatever. First he said he didn't sleep with her. Then he said he did. Then he said it's not his child. Then he found out it is his child. And then he's responding. He's apologizing on Instagram. I'm like, put it away, dude. I don't really care. I don't care. I hate that there's going to be a broken family in this, because this child didn't ask to come into this world. I'm not saying this child won't be loved and taken care of, because obviously there's some financial fortitude there behind it. It looks like they're going to be fine, but you got a bunch of broken lives here. So Pepper Schwartz, a professor of sociology at the University of Washington, featured a relationship expert on Married at First Sight, says the Thompson and Kardashian situation, I was wondering why we seem to be so into the story. It digs up feelings of betrayal people have experienced, because a lot of people have. I don't know anyone that has not experienced some sort of betrayal. I think the strength of the reaction comes from where we've been. We've done that, or we've been subjected to it. We forgave when we shouldn't have. Plus, the culture, we're intrigued by the subject of cheating as long as we're not the ones involved. You've been in a situation where your best friend is cheating on his wife or cheating on her husband, and you know what's happening. Alicia Walker, assistant professor of sociology at Missouri State University, author of Chasing Masculinity, Men, Validation, and Infidelity. Why do those three words have to be put together? Not all guys cheat. Not all guys are creeps or scumbags. The social narrative around cheating is that if you discover you're being cheated on, the correct response is you leave that person. Well, if you've been in a situation, particularly if you're married and you've got kids, and you know that your mate's cheated on you, it's not that easy. It's a lot of things playing into it. Maybe it was a discretion. Maybe it happened once. Maybe it happened more than once. But at least being brought up, that's not a deal breaker. I know a lot of people are like, if my wife or my husband ever cheated on me, I'm out, I'm done. Well, for a lot of people, it's something you got to work through. You need to keep the family together. Maybe even you don't have a family. Maybe that person had her discretion. I don't know what the situation, I don't know what your situation is. But a lot of people are like, that's a deal breaker. And really, before you actually get into the deal itself, you need to realize, hey, this is something that could possibly happen. And I'll be honest with you, hell, 90% of us probably don't even know it's happened. I got news for you. Your wife or your husband, I hope not, but could have cheated and you never found out. Didn't change anything, did it? Because you never found out. How many of those times when there's been infidelity in a relationship do you actually find out that it actually happened? As a society, we eat up tales of infidelity, but we want the players involved to follow their script. That means Chloe is to leave Tristan for good. And it appears she probably has. She can burn all of his clothes, kick him out, trash him on the internet, refuse to ever speak to him again, but she's not to vilify the women with whom he cheated with. People get riled about cheating because it plays on their own fears of being in that situation. They see themselves and people in their own lives reflected in these stories, and their deep fears turn into misdirected anger towards Chloe for not reacting as they believe they would have reacted in the same scenario. Now, let's check it back a little bit, because normally, if you are cheating with a man who's married, then what makes you think that once he divorces or separates from his wife and he gets with you, he's not going to do the same thing to you? Because it seems like it's a pattern that happens over and over and over again. If you remember, I believe that Tristan was in another relationship when he hooked up with Chloe the first time, and she knew that. I'm not saying she got what she deserved. I'm just saying that if you're cheating with a dude and he's willing to cheat with you and he's already in another relationship, he'll probably do it to you. There's not a switch that comes on. There's not a deeper love. Doesn't matter whether you have children. It's just one of those situations where if you cheat, you know it's there, it's happened. You hope it doesn't happen again. You hope you're the one. But in this particular case, it's happened over and over and over again. It's just something to think about. I'm a trustworthy guy. I love to give people the benefit of the doubt. I'll hear them out. I'll hear the debate. And I also realize that there are many challenges in any relationship that you need to work over. And in a lot of cases, if you can get through it, counseling, therapy is certainly something that would have to be in play, that it could actually make the relationship a little stronger. So that'd be good. And that's one of the reasons we do that. Again, happy birthday to Elvis Presley. And David Bowie would have been 75 tomorrow. We got some great classic rock and roll. I cannot wait for noon today on a Friday. What a treat. Damon Johnson and his lovely bride, Linda, will be on the show today. They're going to co-host the show along with myself. It is the top 6 heavy metal hair songs. We got some Faster Pussycat, some LA Guns, some Motley Crue, and then I added a couple tunes on the backside, some Warrant. It's going to be killer if you're into the hairband stuff. You're going to love the Damon Johnson Show at noon and 8 right here on Tony Curry Radio. How do you get it? Download the Tony Curry Radio app. It's super easy to get. Download it, and you're good to go. And you can listen to classic rock 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And our weekend numbers are monsters because people are out playing with their kids. They're out in the yard cutting grass, whatever you got to do. It's a little chilly right now to be cutting grass. But get out there and get it done, and you'll be ready to go. If you've ever seen Peter Frampton live, you'll realize that the first song that he plays almost every single time he goes on the road is the next one we play, and it's not Show Me the Way. It's not Do You Feel, and it's not Ooh Baby, I Love Your Way, which I could probably go my entire life with never hearing again. It's from Humble Pie, and I'll play it for you in just a second right here on Tony Curry Radio. Thanks again for listening this morning. We're on Facebook Live this morning. You can go to the Tony Curry page on Facebook and rewatch that video if you like. And, of course, we're on social media platforms, Tony Curry Radio everywhere, including LinkedIn. So check it out. And, of course, we've got the Damon Johnson Show coming up a little bit later on this morning with his lovely bride, Linda. Linda's joined the show. So we'll do that show at noon and 8 right here. His top 6 butt rock songs, or they like to call it metal hairband songs. It's killer. Speaking of birthdays, we mentioned Elvis Presley would have been 87 tomorrow. If Elvis Presley's still alive, would you go see him play? What if if he hadn't died, you probably wouldn't, right? Knowing that he's dead, in other words, if we dug him up and he was still good, but he was 87 years old, would you go see him play? I don't think Elvis Presley would be still performing at the age of, so well, maybe he would. Maybe. B.B. King got after it to his 90. David Bowie would have turned 75 tomorrow. Ted Knight, one of the funniest guys I've ever seen on television, loved him in Caddyshack. He would have been 99. Harry Chapin. I listened to Taxi. Do you remember the song Taxi from Harry Chapin? We used to play that song. He would have been 70 years old today. Johnny Bench, the greatest catcher in Major League Baseball history. And I don't just say that because I'm a Queen City guy. I love me some Johnny Bench. He was a badass dude, and now he's doing Blue Emu. And it won't make you stink. He turned 75 today. And also, for my money, maybe one of the greatest singers I've ever heard, period. It's just amazing because, and I've been following him my entire life, and I just love his Heartland album was fantastic. He's done so many collaborative things. He's done the live thing with Daryl Hall in Daryl's house. Kenny Loggins turned 74 today. I mean, he's going to be one of those dudes, seriously, when he passes away, and I hope it's not for another 20 years, but when he passes away, he's one of those, as you got rock and rollers, and you got people who love to see sing, and there's nothing worse than when you go to YouTube and you pull up a video of a song you want to hear, and then what I do is I'll say, I want to hear it live, because you want to see what it sounds like, if it sounds differently in live, and sometimes you get a different version. And then if you get I don't know, I was doing it with Kenny Rodgers, I think it was. There was a Kenny Rodgers song that was sticking in my brain the other day, and it was 1982 or something, and I heard it, and I want to hear that song live. And it was not good. Kenny couldn't hit the high notes. He cut the song short. He did a minute and a half version of it. It was terrible. It was some Las Vegas style thing, and it was just terrible. And I wish I hadn't seen it. But Kenny Loggins is one of those guys, because, we think that just because you can sing like that all the time. There's just a few guys. Bob Seger can do it. Rick Emmett from Triumph, if you go to rickemmett.com, dude's hitting the same notes he hit in 1977. It's amazing. I don't know how he does it. I mean, you can sing all day long and keep your vocal cords, but everything gets old, right? Things start falling apart. And when you hear one of your favorite singers and they just can't quite hit those high notes anymore, they may sing it. Steve Perry, another one. I got news for you. If you heard Steve Perry sing now, don't stop believing. You better stop now. Believe it don't sound the same. And I mean, it's part of life. You get older and you just can't hit the notes. You play a little octave lower. You try to still hit those high notes. It just doesn't happen. But Kenny Loggins is one of those guys, man. When he passes, it's going to bum me out, man. It's going to bum me out. Tony Curry Radio on the Tony Curry Radio app. Damon Johnson Show Friday. Coming up later on today at noon and 8 o'clock. You'll be hearing the Damon Johnson Show along with his lovely bride, Linda. Doing their top 6 heavy metal hair band songs. We got some Faster Pussycats, some LA Guns. There was a couple tunes I hadn't heard in a long. Just one song I had never heard. It's fantastic. To go off at noon and 8 right here on Tony Curry Radio. Coming up, also we got some Cheap Trick with some Doors. Trooper Raise a Little Hell here on a Friday. We always play that on Fridays. Sammy Hagar's Standing Hampton album. I always talk about that. I love Sammy. I love Sammy Hagar. I used to follow him as a solo artist well before he joined Van Halen. I was all cool with that, and then it just took it to another level. It's fantastic. His 40th anniversary of Standing Hampton, it was released on this date, January 7th, 1982.